Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. We'll start today where we always start, with a red-hot economy. Since taking office, my administration has been focused on ensuring that we govern where people wake up in the morning and what they worry about. When people wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about their party. They're not thinking about their political registration. They're thinking about their job and whether they make enough to support their family. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment for themselves, their parents, or their kids. They're thinking about the roads and bridges they're going to drive that day. They're thinking about the school they're going to drop their kids off at. And they're thinking about public safety in their community. Focusing on those issues has helped us achieve. We're not moving a state to the right or the left, but we're moving it forward. And we're moving it forward for every single family. There is not a red job or a blue job, a Democrat or a Republican job, and every single one of these that we create. It helps families all across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So today's economic news is more proof that our momentum continues and that we're moving this state forward for absolutely everyone. Today, the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority met and approved state support for 6 new location and expansion projects totaling $434 million of new investment in our Commonwealth and in our people that will create 260 new full-time jobs for Kentuckians. Since the start of my administration, we have announced a record of what is now nearly $32 billion in private sector investment. We're now close to 55,000 new quality jobs for our people. Today's project approvals add to that, and they include AVA Redundant Web Services, which is considering an investment that will create good jobs in Clay County. They include Grissom, which has a potential project in Marion County. They include Horse Soldier Farms, which is investing in a new distillery as part of the previously announced $200 million tourism development project in Pulaski County. In addition, I'm happy to share specific details about 3 companies that were approved today that we know are moving forward. First, and the first one comes out of the recent trip that I just took to Asia, a company we were able to sit down with, and we are now moving forward on an exciting project. Mitsubishi Electric US has announced plans to repurpose an existing manufacturing facility in Maysville to produce highly efficient heat pump compressors. The $143.5 million investment will support 122 high-wage, full-time jobs in Mason County. Last November, the U.S. Department of Energy announced that this project was selected for a $50 million grant, which is pending final approval. As the second largest employer in Maysville, Mitsubishi Electric has produced automotive components in Kentucky since 1995. This will transition that facility to the new heat pump line. The company now plans to establish this would be the first ever U.S. factory to build advanced twin rotary variable capacity compressors. I had the privilege of meeting with them during last week's trip to Japan, and we reaffirmed our desire to continue to grow together, and they reaffirmed their commitment to Maysville and Mason County. They bragged about the workforce that they have there and investing in them. This morning, I heard from Mason County Judge Executive Owen McNeil, and he is excited. He shared that this is the largest investment in Mason County in the last 20 years or so. So this is a really big deal to Maysville and Mason County, and it's just more proof of our commitment that we're going to make sure that we bring jobs everywhere, that our goal is to announce the largest investment in each of our counties, that jobs should come to people instead of expecting people to travel to jobs, and it's really exciting, again, to see continued foreign direct investment, especially from our great partner in Japan, in this project. So congratulations to Mitsubishi Electric's leadership and their decision to reinvest in Kentucky. Next, I want to highlight exciting news in the state's food manufacturing sector. Mizcon America, a producer of pasta sauce and vinegar products, has announced plans to expand their current operation in Owensboro. This $156 million investment is going to create 44 new Kentucky jobs. The additional space provided by the expansion will allow for building improvements, new machinery and equipment, and IT upgrades. I want to thank the company They have been a Team Kentucky partner for a long time, and this reinvestment just shows how great Owensboro's workforce is, the hard work that local officials have put in there. So congratulations to everybody on this announcement. Our manufacturing industry also continues to grow at incredible speed. The sector is leading the way for our surging economy and providing opportunities to Kentuckians in every corner of our state. This new company is getting in on that action. Peak Precision Manufacturing is a startup mass production and manufacturing business that's going to establish a new facility in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The company is investing $3 million and will create 24 full-time Kentucky jobs. Peak Precision's choice to locate in Bowling Green is a testament to our state's workforce. It's also a testament to Bowling Green that last year was the #1 city of its size in economic development in America, according to Site Selection magazine. That's because of a lot of great partnerships. The state is a part of that. But my goodness, to all our local officials, to all the groups, to the Industrial Authority and everyone else, great job. And that momentum only continues with this announcement. I want to thank Peak Precision's company's leadership for their belief in our great state, and I look forward to their success for years to come. Now, we talk a lot at these about how this doesn't happen overnight. It takes hard work. It takes investment. And I was proud 2 budgets ago when the General Assembly and the executive branch came together and agreed that we should invest. That formalized our KPDI program, the Kentucky Product Development Initiative, that recognizes that it's great to have a big announcement where jobs are going to come, but the next company needs a site, and the one after that, and the one after that. And we can't rest on our laurels. Even after we announced the biggest investment in our history at $5.8 billion with Blue Oval SK, or the $2 billion AESC investment, the second largest in our history. That next investment needs to come to a county that's looking for jobs, and we want to make sure that we are investing in their sites, getting the infrastructure to them, building the roads, running the water, making sure it has the power that's needed to run whatever business would look their way. So today I'd like to highlight 2 counties that received approval today through the KPDI program. These projects are in Rockcastle and Rowan counties, and it totals over $1.1 million in state funding. The Rockcastle County project also includes regional support from Garrett and Lincoln counties. I've said this before, in the last 4 years, we are seeing more cooperation amongst our counties than I have ever seen, and it's a huge benefit. It makes it easier to bring in these companies because they see their workforce as regional, but it's a real testament to the county judges and others that are involved. So to date, we have approved $31 million in state funding in the second round of the KPDI program. Again, it is a great program that shows that economic development is bipartisan or nonpartisan, but it takes work. It takes investment, and grateful the General Assembly has provided the dollars for us to continue to do this good work. Over this last week, I was continuing to work on economic development as I visited Japan and South Korea. These 2 countries are an incredibly important part of our success in Kentucky, both in the last 40 years and certainly in the last 4 years. The Commonwealth is home to 200 Japanese-owned facilities that employ 47,000 people, and 7 Korean-owned facilities that employ 1,200 people. We met one-on-one with 18 companies that currently employ over 15,000 Kentuckians and have announced another 7,000 full-time jobs. They include Latte Aluminum. The Latte company is enormous. SK On, we got to meet with the number 2, the vice chair of all of SK. DAEIL, Infac, which is down in Campbellsville, and you might remember announced a doubling of the size of their facility, and Toyota, as well as Suntory. But going back to Toyota, this was pretty special. They hadn't told us, and not many of their executives knew, but the chairman, Mr. Toyota, from the family, came to the meeting. It was special to see what Kentucky means to that enormous company, how they view us as an important part of the chapter of their, an important chapter in the history of their company. Mr. Toyota got to walk me through how their company started with, I believe it was his great-grandfather, making an invention about a loom so that his mom could go to bed at night and didn't have to sit up with it all night. I mean, what a special way for a company to to start with not just innovation, but out of how much you care about your family members. This was an incredibly warm meeting. Toyota told us that they continue to invest in Kentucky, recently a $1.3 billion investment, and that they are going to be a big part of our future. Also great meeting with Suntory as they continue to invest in their distilleries all around Kentucky. We are grateful to these companies. Since I took office, the companies we met with have announced investments of over $10 billion in Kentucky. And on top of that, had the opportunity to continue to make good connections within the governments of these two countries and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So I got the opportunity to see again Governor Omura. He is from the Aichi Prefectural Government of Japan. That's kind of one of their states, one of their provinces. And this is their state that has the largest number of companies that have invested in Kentucky. I hosted him here 2 months ago, got to see him again, both in a meeting where we signed a new memorandum of understanding that will help guide further investments between his state and ours, as well as a reception we held where we had a huge number of Japanese companies come, and he participated and helped us with that. I also got to join Secretary Jim Gray to meet with the National Police Agency of the Republic of Korea to sign a driver's license reciprocity agreement. We were either the 25th or the 26th state to enter into that type of agreement with them. It's something very important for their executives and ours because it works both ways. So now as a Kentuckian, you can drive in Seoul. But it's very important for executives both ways to not have the hassles, to make sure that we are as welcoming of a state as possible. I really enjoyed meeting with U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel. We had a great conversation about Japan's investments in Kentucky, and he had a lot of great words in our reception about Kentucky, and I appreciated what he said about Kentucky's current leadership. It was very kind of him. All right, moving on to the end of our fiscal year. I want Kentuckians to know we've now closed the books on the 2024 fiscal year. Compared to the fiscal year 2024 budget that was enacted in the 2022 legislative session, the fiscal year 2024 ended with the largest budget surplus ever, about $2 billion, most of which came from the $1.4 billion revenue surplus. So let me just go through those. The revenue surplus is how much revenue came in over expectations. The budget surplus includes a lot more than that. That was overall revenue compared to spending. And so $2 billion or close to that is our overall budget surplus for fiscal year 2024, our biggest and our best ever. That shows two things. One, a red hot economy, and second, strong fiscal management. What this does is set us up to be able to make important investments moving into the future. It helps set the table because some of that was already budgeted for the next budget. You know, record amounts going into water, sewer, economic development, and a number of other projects that were included in that budget. I want to thank John Hicks as well as our budget office for everything they've done, and congratulations to Kentucky on now 4 straight years with $1 billion plus budget surplus. Every year I've been in office that we've had the full fiscal year, we've now had $1 billion plus budget surplus. We know how to not just run a balanced budget. We know how to run a revenue positive budget that allows us to have more dollars to put into our kids, to our families, and to our infrastructure. Based on the fiscal year 2023 data released by the National Association of State Budget Officers this past spring, Kentucky ranked 6th of the 50 states in the balance of the Budget Reserve Trust Fund balance as a percentage of general fund spending. So that shows you how we budget. And we've done this by, at the same time, breaking every export record, every tourism record, and now every fiscal record within the state. So what I see is a sense of optimism across Kentucky. That's not just me. I stand with Republican legislators and their districts, and we all talk about how things are looking up. We may think that they're coming from different places. I believe that there's enough credit to be shared amongst everyone. But the fact that we are optimistic at a time where pessimism seems to hang over our country shows we know how to do this right, and I'm grateful for everyone from every party, red, blue, or otherwise, that have helped make this happen. So congratulations to Kentucky on its biggest budget surplus ever. Moving from that to another promise that I made, and that's to rebuild every home and every life from the natural disasters that have struck us. This weekend marks the 2-year anniversary of the historic flooding in eastern Kentucky that took the lives of 45 Kentuckians. Many families lost everything they had, including their homes. I remember standing in Knott County at the site where we lost those kids. Home was gone, and there was just a little plastic swing that was remaining. Knott County judge, who's a friend of mine, who's become a friend of mine, stood there and prayed for that family, and I hope some level of peace has come to them and to everyone else. I think about the family where they still haven't recovered the body of the last victim, and how that must hurt and continue to hurt even 2 years later. And I think about the families, including one at a state park, that came in and were hugging on the cashier, who was their daughter, who told me that their parents had lost absolutely everything, and that the clothes that they were wearing were the only clothes that they had. From the moment those flood hit, though, we saw neighbors helping neighbors. We saw what is truly great about Kentuckians. In our most difficult times, we come together, we help each other, we push everything else aside, and we just be the good human beings that we are. Here in Kentucky, we are going to continue to work to get things done. And while many communities and families are still recovering, this is a multi-year rebuild. Much progress has been made. So Friday, I'm going to be traveling to 4 counties, Floyd, Knott, Perry, and Breathitt, to remember the events and share some good news on housing and our progress on infrastructure. And today I have some updates on the progress of our state recovery. So thus far, FEMA has approved individual assistance applications to 8,775 Eastern Kentucky flood survivors. That totals more than $110.5 million under the Individual and Households Program. We had to fight hard for that money because the rules are way too difficult. But what I'm proud of is Kentuckians did not give up. And because of that, FEMA's changed so many of their policies. It's now benefiting everyone else who's gone through hard times, and it's going to benefit our people from recent storms that we got individual assistance approved on. Public assistance funding, now more than $274.7 million has been awarded. The Hazard Mitigation Grant Program has obligated more than $64.2 million. On June 27th, Kentucky achieved a significant mitigation property acquisition milestone. That's the buyout program. Those are the really long words for the buyout program. With the award to the City of Jackson for more than $766,000 to acquire 6 properties through that buyout program. With this award, FEMA has now provided $84.7 million in grants to acquire property in the flood zone that will move people out of the flood zone and make sure they never go through this again. That's been 500 homes acquired across 5 of the 20 counties impacted. To date, 138 bridges have either been repaired or replaced. And federal disaster recovery funds being provided by HUD through the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, or CDBG DR program, are now available. In total, $279 million in federal disaster recovery funding was secured for the 2022 Eastern Kentucky flooding. Remember, there was a separate award for 2021 that includes tornadoes, but also in 2021, Jackson and Breathitt County were hit by flooding that year as well, and they qualify for those funds too. In Prestonsburg, we're using $8 million to build 34 homes for 2021 and 2022 flood survivors. In Letcher County, we're using $8.7 million to build 29 homes. The City of Jackson will use $2.3 million to build 8 homes, and that is all out of the CDBG DR funding that is coming out, and we will get more out. And as a reminder, people were really generous to the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund. $13.2 million were donated from over 41,500 donors, and an audit found that every single dollar is finding the right location in this Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund. So far, 25 homes have been completed through the fund. Those homes are located in Breathitt, Floyd, Knott, Perry, Owsley, Martin, and Letcher counties. We'll also on Friday provide an update on our high ground communities. The hardest work in all of these is getting the utilities there, is running the electricity, is getting the water and the sewer. But because that work has been underway and is certainly underway at the moment, we're going to see homes coming up this calendar year in Knott County, in Perry County, and in so many others of these communities. So Friday, tomorrow, I will be in Eastern Kentucky with a lot more updates on a lot of progress that's occurring. So we can't do an update on the 2022 storms without giving you an update on all the storms that have hit since. So over the Memorial Day weekend earlier this year, a severe weather system swept through Kentucky and tragically took the lives of 6 Kentuckians. Each one of them is a child of God, and we provided for funerals for those that have sought that funding. In response, I declared a state of emergency and requested a federal disaster declaration from President Joe Biden. During the devastating event, 15 tornadoes swept through Kentucky. Power outages peaked at over 215,000 homes and businesses. The extent of the damage is truly heartbreaking. And maybe what hurt most is 2 communities, Barnsley and Charleston, that had been hit, or their location, they're right outside of Dawson Springs, where my dad is from, had been hit. The Barnsley location that was hit by an F3 had been hit by the F4 in 2021. But just like before, neighbors have helped out neighbors. The debris removal has happened pretty quickly. And then President Joe Biden and the Biden-Harris administration has come through yet again and just authorized individual assistance and public assistance for a number of counties. Do we have a slide that has those counties? On the screen, you will see federal funding is available for the counties that are on your screen are the ones that individual assistance is currently available for. We will try to add to this list. But families that are in this county that suffered damage that insurance is not going to cover will have an opportunity to apply for individual assistance and get help from our federal government. In addition to that, 58 counties qualified for public assistance, which will help the county, cities, and the state to rebuild. So if your property was damaged between May 21st and 27th, that's the window of time from these storms, you can apply for FEMA assistance. It's available for home repairs and other critical needs. You can apply through all the different ways that are on the screen. But my message today is thank you to the president and to the vice president for coming through for us. But I also want to thank our federal delegation, our senators and our representatives who strongly supported this application. And they have every time, regardless of their party, regardless of any disagreements with me or with the president. This is one where we have all come together to do the right thing each and every time. So I'm grateful to our entire federal delegation. Thank you for their work and their continued work. This is what we do best. This shows that we're Kentuckians or Americans before we are Democrats or Republicans. Caring for our neighbors is our calling. And I'm proud that we do it. While we've been hit by far too much, we've come together every single time. Last week was also the 2-year anniversary of Kentucky's 988 suicide and crisis lifeline in Kentucky. We want everybody to know that it's okay to not be okay. The amount of mental health challenges that are out there in our country right now, it at least feels like it's the most that we've ever faced. And I want people to know that there is this hotline where people are standing by, they care about you, they want to help you, and they have special and specific training to be able to do it. This is the version of 911, 988, to help in a mental health crisis and to get the very best support immediately. Since the launch of 988, compassionate trained counselors, because that's what they are, have received more than 84,000 calls, 25,000 text messages, and 15,000 online chats from Kentuckians. Currently, our network of 13 in-state call centers has answered the phone on an average of 23 seconds. That's 13 seconds faster than the national average. We're working on a 14th call center because these services are needed, and we want to answer the phone even faster. And there's more good news. There's been a 28% increase in calls routed to in-state centers since the launching of 988, meaning more Kentuckians are being helped by Kentuckians. We want to help all the people within our state. We want to meet all of our mental health needs. We're building out networks, and 988 has been a critical and important one. So thank you to everybody involved in the 988 crisis hotline. Today, I also want to give an update on how we're supporting our wonderful veteran organizations through the Veterans Program Trust Fund. Our military veterans represent the best of Team Kentucky, and they deserve the best from Team Kentucky. From day one of my top priorities has been to create more opportunities, prosperity, and success for all of our families. And we have a chance to do that in a way that no generation has ever done before. But let me be clear, the American dream is only possible because of the dedication and the sacrifice of our veterans and our active service members. I was proud to have appointed a board that allocates the funds that we receive through the veteran license plate purchases and renewals to support important veterans organizations. Following last month's meeting, the board's approved and awarded, first, a grant in the amount of $11,000 to Project Healing Waters. That's a Louisville program to provide the necessary equipment for veterans to participate in fly fishing. The Kentucky Wounded Heroes was awarded more than $28,000 to provide an opportunity for wounded veterans to travel and experience the outdoors while experiencing fellowship and reconnecting to nature. The Heather Renee French Foundation for Veterans was awarded $15,000 to provide the 2024 military education display at the Kentucky State Fair. It's just one of our most visited displays. Visual presentations, $10,000 to honor our veteran community with a Veterans Day Parade. The Kentucky Minuteman Relief Fund was awarded $50,000 to provide financial grants to the Kentucky Army and Air National Guard members experiencing periods of financial distress during natural disasters. The Veterans Walking Wounded Project was awarded $20,000 to help the Fayette County Veterans Drug and Treatment Court Program. The National Association for Black Veterans was awarded $22,500 to honor veterans and their families through a Veterans Day Parade. The Indigent Burial Internal was awarded $25,000 to provide reimbursement costs incurred for burying an indigent veteran. The total fund grants were more than $181,500. That is the most ever awarded from a single meeting for the Veterans Program Trust Fund. If you're interested in helping, you can support the program by visiting veterans.ky.gov. We will continue to work hard to fulfill our mission to our veterans. Scripture reminds us, carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. As a Kentuckian, as an American, we'll continue to give thanks to the bravery, the selflessness, and the sacrifice of our veterans. And finally, I'm recognizing our Kentucky State Police civilians, employees, as this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars. Would you all join us up here? Come on up. It's just a small group of people. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
How are you?
Great.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work. How we doing?
Good to see you as well.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming. KSP has about 800 civilian employees that serve in a variety of roles from telecommunications, maintenance, driver testing, information technology, public relations, forensic testing, and records support. The majority of these Kentuckians do not work the average 9-to-5 job. Many civilian employees are on the job across the Commonwealth every hour of every day in some capacity. They sacrifice time with their families in the name of creating a safer Kentucky. They embody the teamwork, the strength, and the dedication that's oftentimes needed in times of great sorrow. They do it thinking of others before themselves, and we are thankful for their service. Right this moment, Lieutenant Governor Coleman is attending KSP's annual Civilian Awards Ceremony, where 15 civilians are being presented with awards for their dedication to public safety in the year 2023. The awards include the 2023 Civilian of the Year, Career Achievement, Police Communication Support, and Supervisor of the Year, among others. Their work is the best of the best, and the state police could not operate without them. We couldn't keep the people of Kentucky safe without them. That's why I'm naming them this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars. They are there for people at their toughest and oftentimes their lowest moment. They help pick us up, and they walk hand in hand with our people to create a better, safer Kentucky. So thank you to our Team Kentucky All-Stars. Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
So thank you. We appreciate y'all. All right. Great. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I don't think you want to be up here for questions. All right. I think we have some questions. We'll open it up for questions. The way we've always done this is I have the confirmed list. We'll go through and allow everybody to ask a question. We have so many people that if your question's already been asked and you don't want to, that is okay. But let me start out with a statement, because I do believe I'm likely to be asked a question over and over. And I'm going to tell you up front, this is my statement on it that I'm likely to repeat. I am honored to be considered, and regardless of what comes next, I'll do everything I can between now and Election Day to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America. You all know what question that is in response to, and that is my full statement on that topic. Okay, so we will start with Joe Sonka.
Thanks, Governor. With all the vice presidential speculation right now, I have some foreign policy questions for you, specifically on conflict, the Israeli conflict in Gaza. So I'm going to rattle these off real quick for you. First of all, do you support an immediate ceasefire in that conflict? 2, do you support conditioning U.S. military aid on Israel limiting civilian casualties? 3, do you support a two-state solution? And last, do you approve of the Biden administration's foreign policy towards Israel since the October 7th attack by Hamas Tuesday?
Foreign policy is set by the President of the United States. Israel is a strong ally of the United States. When you have disagreements with a strong ally, I think you have them privately, and I don't think you can litigate foreign policy through the press. Bodie Brooks.
Thank you, Governor. I have a bit of a two-part question, if you can indulge me. First, the national appearances that you made this week on CNN and MSNBC, were you invited on to make those appearances, or did you request to make those appearances? And second, because of those interviews, you were being characterized as an attack dog for Vice President Harris on Senator Vance's record. Do you agree with that characterization, and are you comfortable playing that way?
Well, I was invited on each of those, and invited on each of those before we saw all this news that came out. What I said about J.D. Vance isn't because of anything that is rumored about me or any role he stepped into. It's because he has exploited and attempted to attack my fellow Kentuckians, and it's my job as governor to stand up when that happens. To spend some summers or parts of summers or weekends or come into special events and then to claim that you know the people of Eastern Kentucky, the culture of Eastern Kentucky, to make money off of that claim and then to call our people names is just not acceptable. If anybody else had done it, I'd be speaking up too. Listen, I'm from Kentucky. This is my home. It will always be my home no matter what, and I will always stand up for our people. Rebecca Grapevine.
Yes, Governor. You may be soon perhaps getting Secret Service protection, and I wanted to know about your stance about the agency's Trump rally failures, and also whether Whitney would maintain a friendly stance towards the Secret Service.
Whitney has a friendly stance towards everybody, thankfully. She doesn't bite anybody. Listen, I've got a great KSP detail that keeps me safe every single day. And no matter what is going on, I fully trust them and would want them to be involved in anything and everything around me. These are people that have protected my kids the last 4 years. They're very special to us, and I consider them an extended part of my family, and I'm still here, even after all the threats that would come in during COVID and everything else. So I fully trust them with my security. What happened with the shooting at former President Trump is absolutely unacceptable. It is a full failure. by the Secret Service. Everybody, every American deserves to be safe and feel safe wherever they are, and that includes Donald Trump, and it includes anybody at a political rally. But the thing I hate most about all that is the individual who lost their life. They went to support a candidate. That's part of what makes us American. That's part of our system, and it shouldn't matter whether you agree or disagree with that individual's candidate. No one should ever lose their life when they're showing up to express their First Amendment rights. So the Secret Service better do better, and I think what you saw is bipartisan condemnation that these things just shouldn't happen. Liam.
Governor, I want to ask about President Joe Biden's recent Oval Office speech explaining why he stopped his re-election campaign. He said in that speech that nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy, and in the recent past, he's defended calling Trump a threat to democracy. Of course, it's been reported that Trump, following the 2020 election, asked the Georgia Secretary of State to find votes, and also it's been reported that Trump pressured local election officials in Michigan not to sign certification of the election. Do you personally think Trump is a threat to democracy?
Yes, I do. Former President Trump refused to accept a full and fair election, took steps to try to overturn it, but also incited a mob that attacked our U.S. Capitol. We deserve better. I can't believe that he is somehow a presidential candidate after all of that. And it just shows why we need, after this election, to get to such a better place. The temperature of our country is too high. Too many people yelling at each other simply because of their party registration. We're supposed to be Americans first before we're Democrats or Republicans, and we seem to have forgotten that. Now, I believe Vice President Harris is the candidate that can help lead us past that. I think she, like me, governs where people live, where they wake up each morning and the things that they're worried about. I talk about those all the time, like jobs. You look at the IRA and how it is helping us to reshore companies and create good jobs in Kentucky and across America. That's a better life for families, whether they're Democrat or Republican, coming into it. She believes in public education. Today, she is in Texas with AFT, just like this morning. I was with JCPS, telling them very clear that public dollars are for public schools, and I will do everything I can to defeat Amendment 2, which aims to defund our Kentucky public education. I've been pro-education and pro-teacher every day of my public life, and I still view one of my best and greatest accomplishments when we overturned that sewer bill and protected the pension of every teacher, police officer, firefighter, and social worker throughout this state. She worries about the roads and bridges that people drive every day. Think about what the bipartisan infrastructure law is doing. I mean, we are actually building the Brent Spence Companion Bridge after 3 administrations claimed they'd do it. We are doing it. And she's pro-healthcare. She made the challenge that Kentucky responded to, talking about the truth that maternal mortality in this country is unacceptable, and asked that we expand Medicaid for a full year for both the mom and the new child. We answered the call and did that. But then also think about the BEAD program they pushed through, bringing internet access to every home across Kentucky and across America is going to allow our people to connect and get virtual healthcare at a level that has never been done before, meaning everyone will have access, sometimes out of their own home. We need better in this country. We deserve better in this country, and I believe Vice President Harris is going to lead us to a better place. Alex.
Thanks, Governor. When are you going to meet with Vice President Harris's campaign?
I am honored to be considered, and regardless of what comes next, I'll do everything I can between now and Election Day to make sure that the Vice President becomes our next president. Sarah. Do we have Sarah? No. Dave Mattingly.
Governor, 7 months ago, we sat in this very room in an interview, and you told me that you had no interest in a national office. I'd like to know what's changed.
I love this state, and I love this job. My kids are happy. We're making record progress in Kentucky. Again, the only way that I would consider accepting anything else is if I believe that I can help this state and this country more in a different way. Listen, any change, it would admittedly be disruptive on my family. But if we can help the United States of America get to a better place, well, that's better for my kids too. And my life changed with the birth of my two kids. I had a good job in the private sector. We were comfortable, but that day, I looked at them a year and 3 days apart, those two instances, and I just felt like I had to do something more for them to create the world that they deserve. So listen, I love this job. I still plan on serving out my full second term. And if this job is the last political job I ever do, it is more than enough for me. It is a great responsibility and a great gift to be able to serve as Kentucky's governor. And no matter what, this is my home. And I'll have a home here. And I'll continue to fight for Kentuckians in any and every way that I can. Mark.
Why can't you say whether you're being vetted or not?
Well, I can't say I'm honored to be considered. Mason.
Governor, unnamed sources have stated you have been asked to send vetting materials to the Harris campaign. Can you confirm this?
What I can do is give the same statement that I started out with. That's the statement I'm authorized to give at this point. Carolina.
Do you believe that you and the vice president would be compatible?
Well, I think what's needed right now is a ticket that not only can win, but again can govern, and can govern in a way that's for everyone. I mean, we can't keep going with this everything being red or blue, or Democrat or Republican. Everything right now, from the car you buy to the beer you drink, somebody tries to make partisan and say you have to pick a team. And I see it every day in Kentucky. Our people are exhausted with it. Like, we are desperate for something better. And I think we're desperate to make sure that our next president is somebody that you can sit your kids in front of the TV and they can watch it without worrying about what that person might say. I believe our vice president is, first, she's strong. She's tough as nails. She's an AG like me, and I know an AG when I see one. That's somebody who works hard for all the people of their state, and I know will work hard for people in the country. But I believe that this is the type of leader that can help just get us to that place where, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, your kids can watch that next address, and you can feel good about what they're going to say, what they're going to see, and what she's going to say. Shauna Mizell, yes. Welcome to Kentucky.
Thank you. I'm from Forbes, Ohio.
Okay.
Curious, have you talked to the vice president since Sunday? And also, even today, you said that you would only consider the proposal if you felt like you could do better. Do you believe that? Where do you stand?
Well, I have not talked to the vice president personally since she called me in just a couple hours after President Biden made his announcement. That call meant a lot to me. She personally asked for my support, and I said, of course, and in providing all of that support. I think all of this attention is really about what we're doing in Kentucky. You travel around Kentucky right now, and you see a state where the temperature is turned down, where neighbors aren't yelling at neighbors, where we're achieving in every part of the state, where we've got people from different parties standing side by side, talking about a new investment in clean drinking water, or the expansion of internet, or the newest jobs announcement. I was in Allen County for the Bellmark announcement, 100 plus new jobs, the largest investment in about a decade since Smuckers came there. And it was me and 2 Republican legislators, and we were all excited about what was going on. If we can, whoever makes up this ticket, if we can get to that type of place in the United States of America, I think everyone will take a breath. I think everyone will smile a little bit more. And I think we'll start enjoying the prosperity that I believe has started to come to the United States and is building. Karen.
Governor, thank you. You've talked a lot about the upward trajectory of Kentucky's economy. How could you translate that success on a national level? And secondly, what is the level of support from home?
Well, well, on that last one, I'd refer you to my statement. But certainly, Kentucky is in an exciting place. And part of the reason that we're here is that we recognize that the signing in the Rose Garden, or when I sign bills right over here, that's not the end. It hadn't created one job. Like the signing of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act, were exciting moments. But you then got to go out and do the work. That's us building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth. That's building the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill in Henderson. That's the AESC project that's going to employ 2,000 Kentuckians in Bowling Green. It's the announcements we made today, one of the largest announcements in Mason County in 10 years. What a governor can bring to the table is knowing how to get it done, knowing how to get the dollars that are allocated by these projects out there. And there is always room for improvement on the speed that you can get those dollars into a community, because every day that we get held up and any type of red tape is a day that those jobs aren't being created, a job that internet is not getting to that house. I know how to execute on legislation. And at the end of the day, what I believe in are jobs, are infrastructure, clean drinking water for people, internet access for everyone. I believe in public safety and public education. I believe healthcare is a basic human right. And no matter what role that I'm in, those will always be my focus. It's on our people and making sure that we spend every moment just providing a better life for them. Legacy is not about an election. Legacy is not about a title you have. Legacy is about the people you help, and that comes from my faith. That's one of the reasons we're put here on earth. Jose.
Thank you, Governor. Among immigrant communities, there is a lot of uncertainty, and given that the issue of immigration is so controversial, how would you advocate for the invisible immigrant community that is also contributing a lot to the economic prosperity of the country? Even if immigration reform might be out of the question, what's your stance on the DREAM Act and a pathway to legalizing undocumented population?
Well, dreamers, this is the only country they've ever known, and they should be able to continue in this country and ultimately have full citizenship. These are kids. And I believe every child is a child of God, and we ought to prove it when it comes to those individuals. I think a lot of the rhetoric around immigration comes from illegal immigration, and that ends up impacting those seeking asylum and those that are here legally, and our ability to actually pass reasonable immigration reform. Now, where we eventually have to get on this is without it being a political cudgel that people attack each other with, to actually sit down and look at the policy of what our American workforce needs, and to try to make sure that we have a policy that actually works to achieve our goals. And then in our asylum, we've got to invest to make it work better and make it work faster. Those are having more judges. Those are having more individuals that help move that system along. And to have what was a bipartisan agreement blown up simply for politics, that's the worst of America, not the best of America. So listen, we've got to say clearly that illegal immigration is illegal. We can't say that the rule of law applies to the former president and doesn't apply in other instances. But we also can say that these are human beings, and we ought to make sure that the way that we enforce our laws shows our humanity. Molly Jett.
Hi, Governor.
Hey.
Thank you so much. What do Will and Lila think about their father being considered?
Will's 15, Lila's 14. That means the amount I get to talk to them is a little bit different than it was years ago. My family has always been my rock. They have always been incredibly supportive. I wouldn't enter any type of process. I wouldn't read a statement saying it's an honor to be considered if they weren't behind me with whatever comes. Now, anything that comes, I'm going to sit down and talk with them. They are the most important parts of my life. Would do anything for their happiness, and I'm really blessed as a dad. All right, virtual. We've got Morgan Hoover. I'm becoming my dad. He always tears up in talking about his family.
Hi, Governor. I'm curious to know if there's any other initiatives or projects in place or in the works to support, but to really sustain the growth that Bowling Green has been experiencing.
Yes, and there's even specific money in the budget to help on the infrastructure side in Bowling Green, provided we get certain assurances from some large companies that are there. I think you will see us be able to move on that soon. And when we do, it'll be really exciting news for Bowling Green. Bowling Green and Warren County were also the biggest beneficiaries of a couple of housing announcements that we recently made. Those are affordable housing announcements. One is the largest single housing announcement, though it's a group of announcements that our state has ever seen. Bowling Green is growing like crazy. We're really proud of you, and we want to be a good state partner. All right, and Sydney St. Clair from WTVQ.
Hi, Governor. So, there's been some discussion about you maybe entering into a cabinet position. If that were to happen, would there be a special election for governor, even though Lieutenant Governor would be the interim governor?
Well, I haven't heard anything about that. And I don't have any thoughts on that. I love being governor. That would be a hard sell on me. Yes, ma'am. KYT?
Yes.
Okay.
Jessica.
Hey, Jessica.
So we've seen a lot of lawmakers from particularly swing states make their cases on national television, states that are a lot more electorally in play than Kentucky is. So, you say you want to do everything for Kamala Harris to win. Kentucky is a long shot, to say the least. Why is it important for you specifically to make your presence known on these national platforms for Kentucky?
Well, I want to do everything I can to support the vice president, her election for president. And part of that is speaking to the people of the United States of America. Now, we've had an ability here in Kentucky to cross the aisle. It's about talking to people and not talking at them. It's about being focused on the things they care about the most. That's not the issue of the day in D.C. Again, that's jobs and public safety, infrastructure, public education, and healthcare. It's about showing up in times of great difficulty and then sharing your why. The nicest thing people say to me isn't I agree with everything that you're doing, though that's pretty nice to hear. It's that I don't always agree with you, but I know you're doing what you think is right. I talk about my faith because it's important to me. It's part of who I am, but it also helps people to understand my decisions. When I vetoed the nastiest LGBTQ bill, I did it in an election year. I knew they'd use it against me, but I believe every child is a child of God, and I believe that those children needed somebody standing up for them in Frankfurt, that they needed to know that someone in their government really cares about them. I think I'm a person that when you hear him talk to you instead of at you, you recognize that I want to listen to you, and my entire goal in this thing is to better your lives. That opens people up. That allows them to maybe think differently or even potentially vote differently. Okay, I think that is all of our questions. Folks, I've been a person that when sometimes I've gone over the line, I've wanted to make sure that I set the record straight. So I do owe an apology to Diet Mountain Dew. Ale 81 is definitely the soft drink of Kentucky. But I don't believe that government should be making your decisions. So if you enjoy Diet Mountain Dew, you be you. We want to support you. And to Diet Mountain Dew, very sorry. Didn't mean to say negative things about you. Just remember, I am from here, just like everybody else that's speaking out. Thank you all very much.